Good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock on Monday, May 19th, 2025, and we will call this regular City Commission meeting to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Gary.
Here.
Commissioner Bauer.
Here.
Commissioner Baspas-Rath.
Here.
Commissioner Habusta.
Here.
Commissioner Marble.
Here.
Commissioner Rubenstein.
Here.
Commissioner Talentino.
Here.
Everybody is present. Could we please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Great to see everybody in the audience tonight, and we'll roll right on into item C, which is public comment. Anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments on any of our agenda items that are not public hearings?
I guess I'll make a public comment. As you
Wait.
can see, we have the city lamp here.
So we'll get your name, and then we'll have a public comment period at the end of the meeting?
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Katie Wolcott.
okay, all right, we'll put you down then, Katie. Anybody else that would like to speak to any of our agenda items? All right, seeing none, we'll move into item D, which is our consent agenda. Deputy City Manager Robin Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Under the consent agenda, 1, approval of the City Commission meeting minutes of May 5th, 2025. Item 2 is approval of the special City Commission meeting minutes of May 5th, 2025. Item 3, acceptance of the Downtown Development Authority meeting minutes of April 9th and May 8th. Item 4 is confirmation of mayoral appointment of Todd Grove to the Economic Development Corporation. Item 5 is appointment to the Tax Board of Review. Item 6 is consideration of Smart Zone lease agreement with Superior Industrial Services. And item 7 is approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Thank you very much, Deputy City Manager. Would any of the commissioners like any of the items further explained or removed for individual consideration? Seeing none, Commissioner Bauer.
So moved, we approve tonight's consent agenda.
Support.
Motion and lots of support. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. So we'll move right into item E, which is special orders of business. City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up first for tonight for commission consideration is the last stop in our budget process. We have 4 items included under special orders of business. The first one is the administrative budget message that provides some general background information on what the budget is, what's anticipated for next year, and some historical information. We have 3 public hearings scheduled for tonight. At each opportunity, we'll have to have a public hearing for people to give comments if they so choose. The first one is the general appropriations for 2025-2026 that establishes the budget for next year. A public hearing and final resolution on water and sewer rates for 2025 and 2026, as well as a public hearing on the final resolution for establishing the tax levy for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. So I'll just kind of go over some of these kind of just in one general review. The general appropriation, it froze on me. So the first public hearing, as I mentioned, is the resolution establishing the budget moving forward. These were the items that we went over during the budget hearing a few weeks ago. During that time, the commission had an opportunity to review line item by line item. Everything kind of carried forward here, so this establishes the budget moving forward. The public hearing, the final resolution for water and sewer rates. This one will establish the water rates moving forward effective July 1, 2025 through 2026, June 30th, 2026. As we discussed during the budget seasons, we are anticipating about a 3.2% increase of customers utilizing about 5,000 gallons. The increase for this one is the increase in the rates are primarily due to the cost of services or the cost of materials for providing the services, as well as the capital projects that we've been undertaking last year and this year. So over the last couple of years, we've taken out a couple of CW and DW SRF loans. Both of these loans have provided the necessary funding for the improvements over on the CW SRF is the loan that's funding a lot of the improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. So the final resolution is establishing the tax levy for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. This one is not increasing from one year to the next. General operations proposed to be just slightly less at 16.5358. Solid waste millage is staying the same at 0.6520, and the police fire retirement millage is staying the same at 6.2481. So I guess kind of with that, on the topic of taxes, I know there was some conversations over the weekend on Facebook, and some of the commissioners got a hold of me about it. So just as a reminder, Bonnie, you want to throw that up on the screen for me there? So just as a reminder, the way property tax bills are kind of, gosh, dang it. Whatever.
I left my black light at home.
I know, we're back in the 80s on this one. I apologize for that. But, so this is back in the 80s.
They were a good time.
I would not know. Close. Let's try this again. We'll just keep it with that one. That one's fine. So as I just mentioned in the resolutions, the property tax millage rates are not increasing. The operating one is actually decreasing a little bit. But there's a couple of things just to keep in mind about residents' property tax bills. So there's actually an equation that goes behind all of those numbers. It's the millage rate, which the commission establishes, which is establishing it tonight, as well as the taxable value. So the taxable value of the houses or the structures are the financial worth assigned to the property. So essentially, you're taking the taxable value times the millage rate, and that's your property tax bill. So one of the things that kind of increases your property bills from one year to next is the annual increases that's established by the state of Michigan. This kind of came through a combination of the Headley Amendment, 1978, and Prop A from 1994. But essentially what it does is it increases structures values by the rate of inflation or 5%, whatever is less. So I think this year it was about 3%. The last 2 years was about 5%. But this is actually established by the state of Michigan. This is something that we don't really have a say on. The state of Michigan tells us what the multipliers are, and we move forward with it that way. There's not a lot of wiggle room. There is no other option for the commission in order to do that. So the state says it's increasing. We have to follow suit with that. So realistically, the only things that the commission can establish is the millage rate. And again, that's actually going down just a sliver from last year to the next year. It's the taxable value that's really been going up, that's been kind of increasing some people's property tax bills. In addition to that, if there's been any additional millages from outside the taxing jurisdiction or from different taxing jurisdictions, our property tax bills aren't just the city of Sault Ste. Marie. They've got the school district, the state of Michigan, the county, library, any other special millage that may have been voted on. All those things play into the property tax bill. So while people do write a check to the city of Sault Ste. Marie, those funds are distributed based on what they're owed by our finance department. So not everything on the tax bill is from the city, nor is it in the control of the city. So just kind of as an FYI, like I said, I know there were some conversations over the weekend about this, but just as a reminder, that's kind of how the property taxes are established. So without further ado, I guess we would turn it over to the special orders of business. There is no action required for item number 1. Item number 2, 3, and 4 each require its own separate public hearing and vote for consideration by the commission.
Thank you, City Manager. So what we'll do is we'll have public hearings on each of these items, and after the public hearing, we'll have any comments, questions from the commission. So item number 2 is a public hearing on the final resolution of general appropriations for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. So we will open the public hearing on this final resolution of general appropriations for the 25-26 fiscal year, with details by fund as provided in the resolution. So is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments or has any questions at this time? Again, it's a public hearing on our final budget resolution. Sure, if you'd like to come up and introduce yourself, please. Yes, yeah. Come on up. We're televised, so if you could introduce yourself and, although we all know you, but,
My name's David Bolson, I'm a city resident of several properties in the city, of course, so whatever we do impacts me directly, and it
Sure.
impacts those people that I rent to as well. Some of the things in the budget, if this is beyond the scope of this meeting, just let me know. Don't be afraid to say so.
is the mic on? Okay, thank you.
I noticed in the budget, and this would be on page 4, page 4 of 71 pages, a lot for a resident to consume. In the very top quarter, this is under the city commission fees, there's a line item called contingency, and there's $81,000 budgeted for that, but there's no explanation as to what that's for. And it's the largest item in that whole group. What's that 81? It wasn't present in the 2022 budget, the 2023 budget, or the 2024 budget, but here it is in the 24-25 budget. And so anyway, I scratched my head and said, what is that for? $81,000. It's pretty significant when all the other years were zero.
So that contingency line item in the budget was something new that was added last budget season for this current fiscal year. And those were essentially the wages that were for a particular position. It was put into the contingency fund within the city commission for holdings as we kind of figured out a new course for that position.
So what position would that be?
It was some of the staff down in the Downtown Development Authority.
So it's not position in the singular, it's positions in the plural?
It's more a position, there was a part-time position in there, but it's more for the full-time director position.
$81,000 doesn't sound like a part-time job.
No,
So-
they had a part-time down there too. It was for the full-time position.
So what job are we talking about?
It's the Downtown Development Director. It's the person that oversees the DDA. They're the one that's charged with trying to increase kind of the,
Economic activity downtown?
yeah, I was trying to find a different word, but it's essentially the economic development person for the downtown. They do things like business recruitment, helping out with grants, trying to keep the downtown with good curb appeal. They organize a lot of events during the downtown, or for the downtown, but that's what that one was for. So that's why it's only there for 1 year and not moving forward or in the past.
Do we have a person already hired to do this?
We posted the position a few months ago. We've gotten a handful of applications in there, but we still got it posted to see if we can get some more applications in.
How many people are in the downtown development section of the budget?
One currently. In the past, there's been a part-timer. I think about 2019, they had a second full-time person, so it kind of varies. It's varied from
Is-
period of time.
Is that separate from the people up at the, I wouldn't know if I should call it the simulation center, but
The Smart Zone,
is
yes,
that-
it's separate.
That's a separate,
Yes.
and just as a side, while I'm thinking about that, how many people do we have there that are up at the simulation center that are on the city payroll?
Just one currently.
How much did that building cost us, do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head. We just
Well, I'm done.
paid the debt off last year or 2 years ago, but I don't recall the whole number. off the
I'm
top of my head.
digressing, but it just occurred to me when I was on the topic. We have on that very same page under the city manager's office section, we have a line item for $10,000, and it just says contracted services, but there was no similar expenditure in the year 2022 or 2023, well, I guess it is listed under 24-25, but it's $10,000. It's like about the 10th, 11th, 12th item down, just above postage. Did you see that?
Yep.
What contracted services are we talking about?
Those are services for like planning activities and different things like that.
Planning activities, things that we might hire who to do besides somebody, besides a city manager?
Consultants that specialize in the area of work that we need a consultant in.
And why do we need that now when we haven't had it in the past?
It was more for strategic planning the commission asked for, so we put the line item in that item so we could have a strategic plan moving forward.
Wouldn't that strategic planning fall to our planning department or to the simulation people up at the airport building or this downtown development person that we've have a contingency fee of $81,000 available for?
There's a difference between long-range planning, which entails land use and parks and rec and kind of the makeup of the community, versus just a strategic plan for the next couple of years where you just kind of knuckle down and say, what are we going to try to do in the next couple of years? What are our priorities? What are we going to focus on? The big plans that you were talking about, those are 30, 40 years out. They encompass everything, like I said, from land use, zoning, parks and rec, housing types, infrastructure. From there, that's kind of the big picture thing. From there, through the strategic planning process, you take out chunks of it and say, this is what we're going to work on.
And our city planning department's not capable of that with their current staffing levels?
I mean, it takes somebody that has some facilitation experience, some background in strategic planning.
We don't hire that kind of person?
We hire planning and zoning people in our planning and zoning department. It's kind of a different trade.
But my comment, because thank you for answering my questions, but my comment is it just seems like a duplication, or when we're hiring people, maybe we should be looking at that instead of having to build an additional $10,000 or additional $81,000 into the budget.
By bringing an outside consultant as well, it's somebody that's outside the organization, also allows those staff members to also participate in the planning process. It's kind of tough to facilitate a planning session and participate at the same time.
Life is tough, and the right decisions have to be made.
Right.
And that's why we elect people to make good decisions for us. I see under the topic of general appropriation, same page, there are 5 categories there. The very bottom one is general appropriation, 419,000. Are you with me on that?
I will be in a second.
It's the total for that category. It's where dial-a-ride appears.
Yep.
And it says dial-a-ride pass-through. That's the first item, $282,000. Is that what we pay to have dial-a-ride? That's kind of like our bus system here for seniors, and is that?
The dial-a-ride pass-through is the pass-through of the federal funds that we receive from the federal government to the state to fund dial-a-ride.
Okay, so there's a corresponding grant for dial-a-ride I saw elsewhere in the budget. And do those balance out, by the way? It seemed like the dial-a-ride grant was more than that. Am I correct on that?
I'm not sure which one you're talking about off the top of my head. That could be just a general grant for
There's just
new
2 for
buses.
dial-a-ride in the budget.
What's that?
There's just 2 grants for dial-a-ride in the budget, the money coming in. We can move on. I just wondered if those were, if we were spending as much as we were taking in, or actually we were taking in more for the grant than what we're actually spending. That's where I was headed with that. Next page, if you don't mind, page 5 of 71, under the clerk's fees. Everybody with me on that? Or, I see a lot of people not following along, so I'm guessing that, for instance, Commissioner Marble, I'm thinking he must think my questions aren't useful, and if they're not, just tell me, because if I'm off, I wasn't here at the other
No,
opportunities.
we appreciate your questions, Dave, if you want to keep moving.
Yeah, but I don't want to
We're-
speak inappropriately if I'm bringing
I
things that
think we're all
nobody
listening
thinks.
intently to your questions, and
Okay.
I got you on page 5.
Oh, on page 5, under the clerk's office, if you go down about 12 lines, you'll see computer services. You with me on that? Anybody?
Yep.
There's an allocation in every year. We started out in 2022-2023 budget of 297,000, now we're up to 328. What, are we, is this, it's not under salary, so I'm assuming we're outsourcing somebody to do our IT work?
So that line item, just to make sure I'm looking at the right one, computer services, INTL, SVC, right?
Right.
Is what we're looking at. So the INTL SVCF stands for Internal Service Fund. So that's computer services. So our IT budget, so you got the general fund budget and then you got these side budgets that play into it. We have what's called an internal service fund for our computer services. And that's where, that's the fund that funds all of our IT stuff. So the computers, all the software, hardware, servers, all that stuff. But because the city is made up of a bunch of different funds that have to stand on its own, we have the IT fund stand on the side, and all those funds contribute towards it. So this dollar amount from the clerk's budget is the general fund appropriation to the IT fund for all things computer related, or all things IT related for the cops, firefighter, administration, computers, software, everything. And just like anything else, software costs have gone up. We've added a couple of new softwares to help us out with our processes. But just to give you an example too, I mean, Microsoft has gone significantly up since they've kind of switched from the old days where they came on a little disc and you could use it as a Frisbee afterwards to their pay per seat model now. Those have increased those costs too. So in short, the computer services internal service fund is the costs from the general fund that go to the IT fund. If you look through close enough, the utilities have a couple line items with their DDA, EDC, all those funds have that charge, which funds our IT operations.
So, we're talking about the cost of not only the software and the computers in this building, but the computers in the fire department and the police department and any other city offices. And then we're talking about the network to bring those all, those together? Is that what we're?
Correct, yes, sir.
And then if we have a glitch, we're talking about the cost of hiring somebody to come in and fix the glitch. Is that? or is that-
We do have an internal person that fixes most of our glitches.
All right.
I mean, we do have some contracts inside that help us out if it's a big enough glitch. We also have insurance that covers us should we get hacked or something along those lines, yes.
So we would probably be getting bills monthly from whoever's helping us with this network. These are like the service fees that I might, like I have Microsoft and I have Westlaw at my office.
Right.
So I'm getting monthly bills for those, which aren't cheap. And
Correct,
I only have one office and city has, 50 or something. So,
right.
so that's what we're talking about, the same kind of fees that I'm getting for
Correct.
Westlaw. Okay. And no wages in there, that's just all service fees that some provider's charging us.
Those are just the costs that go to the IT fund. So we have an IT director, and her cost allocation for her wages and benefits is in the IT fund, which is further down in the budget.
Okay. And I just have a couple more. This is under the assessors category. It's on page 6. It's about the 12th item down. It's called contracted services.
Okay?
Back in 2022, and the allocation was $5,000. It popped up to $10,000 in 2023. And then the current allocation is $12,000. What contracted services are we referring to there?
So that particular line item funds a contractual property appraiser that we work with. So when we have a Michigan Tax Tribunal case, so somebody's challenging their property assessment values, they file petition work with the Michigan Tax Tribunal. We have to hire on a property appraiser to come on and kind of help us defend ourselves on why we're valuing that structure the way we are. So those go up and down based on caseload. A handful of years ago, they were extremely high because we were in tax tribunal cases with Myers, Walmart, things of that nature. Right now, it's gone down because we're just getting a few residential structures here and there.
Is there an effort to hire local appraisers to spend the money that's raised locally on local people that have state licensing?
The appraiser that we have has been with the city in a contractual relationship for a number of years. I'm not sure if we bid that one out or really how we got to that person. The person was here when I got here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
That would be my comment, my question, remember questions and comments, that'd be my comment.
Right.
That we raise monies locally and we have licensed qualified people here, we should use those people. That's, as a citizen of this
Right.
community, that's my preference. That gets me to the attorney, and I'm not bidding for this job, I wouldn't want it, but I see that we have, on that very same page, page 6, that we're outsourcing $90,000 a year for legal fees, yet we don't have a city attorney here. I've encountered problems in the past trying to get things done in the city, and what I've come up against is, well, when the city attorney gets back to so-and-so, you'll get an answer. And on this one particular thing, I've been waiting since February, and here we are, May 19th. But why are we outsourcing $90,000 for legal fees outside the city?
So the $90,000 is actually two costs to it. It's our general counsel, which also provides us our labor attorneys, anything else special that comes up. Like if there's a need for a specialized attorney for something related to the police department, that's where that comes out of. We also have a local contract with the prosecutor's office to serve as the local prosecutor for the organization that deals with a lot of our blight enforcement cases, smaller things of that nature. So that's about $20,000. The second line item underneath there is a tax tribunal one. That goes back to what I was mentioning too. If we have a specialized attorney that we need for a Michigan tax tribunal case, we have an attorney that only does tax tribunal cases. We bring them on as well, so.
Yeah, I did see that $10,000 for a tax tribunal attorney, and I do think that was a good thing. Somebody that's down in Lansing that does it all the time. That's smart. Labor attorney, same thing. We don't have labor attorneys up here.
Right.
Local prosecutor, I wasn't aware they're getting $20,000 from the city, but I'll now pay attention to that. Not sure what they would do for the city for that. I suppose take over the city attorney's role, prosecuting
Correct.
crimes like our
Correct.
ordinance violations.
Correct.
I'm on the next page, page 7 at the top, and this is still under the category of attorney, I think, but it may be its own category called Fringe Benefits. Page 7, the top. There's an allocation for life insurance. And life insurance retirees, it pops from $10,700 in 2022 to $21,300 in the 2024 and 25 budget. So it's over double the cost of that, and I'm wondering, yes, everything's gone up in my life too, but it hasn't gone up 100%. So what happened there?
I guess I'd say that's a contribution. It's a mix of increased costs for the premiums as well as the number of retirees that have gone on the plan.
Any idea how many retirees we have on the city?
Deputy Treasurer, do you know?
Not off the top of my head. I don't have a count, but I can get back to you
Yeah.
if you wish.
Do you know if that information was ever given to the commissioners, let them know how many retirees we have? And they looked at all these things, not just life insurance for retirees?
I can't recall.
Is there any projection, like there's a 2025, 2026 budget, there must be a projection of a certain number of retirees coming into the claim status for their life insurance post-work?
Right, we have a projection. Insurance rates fluctuate from year to year. So I mean, our projection is only as good as it is at this current moment. Rates could go up. We could have more retirees on the plan. We could have less retirees on the plan through just natural attrition, so to say. So it's kind of hard to forecast that per se. There's a lot of different variables that aren't within our control.
My last question, I think, we'll see, is about Sherman Park. And I noticed that the budget estimates $55,000 revenue from Sherman Park. And who is it that comes up with that projection?
So what we do is every year we review the fee schedule to see if we should propose a rate increase to the commission. Those come to the commission, they review them, they take action on them. Every year when we go through the revenues, we kind of do a historical look back, including the current year, to see if use has gone up, use has gone down. We kind of average it out. If there's an average increase, we'll account for that. If there's an average decrease, we'll account for that. So it's a mixture of the department heads as well as the finance department that reviews those projections.
So it would be Parks and Recreation that came up with that projection then? Is that what you're saying to me? or-
Parks and Rec and the finance department.
Okay. It seemed low, 55,000. I was trying to think about the number of sites there and what the city charges per site. Although I know in the last couple of years, the city hasn't, maybe last year it had a little use of it, but the year before it had no use of it. But you think of how many sites there are, and if you charge $30 a night for a site, 55,000 doesn't take long to get up to 90,000. And so it just seemed on the low side to me.
Projected to be 75 on
Is
this
it? I thought I
year's.
saw
Yeah.
55, but you could
It
be
was 55 the last year.
last year. So
It's
75. Well,
projected to be 75 this year.
well, I'm glad to hear that. I must have
Suggested
missed
budget.
that. And that does conclude my questions and comments. Thank you. I
Yeah.
thought you were very responsive. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dave. We do appreciate you coming, and we don't usually get a lot of input, so we do appreciate that. That's an open
We-
process, yes.
We have 116 retirees on the
Okay.
life plan.
Hear that, Dave? 116 retirees on the, sure.
Thank you, Robin. And Robin, could you happen to have the statistic about how many we had in 2022 or 2023?
I don't have that handy, but I can get that to you. We keep a roster of the death benefit
Okay.
claims that are processed annually.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. All right, is there anybody else in the audience that would like to make any comments during this public hearing?
Can I possibly make a comment in regards to some of what has been discussed here? Or do I need to wait until it's the commission
We might as well-
comments?
Can we wait until we close the public hearing?
Yeah, sure.
Anybody else going once, going twice? We'll now close, sure, if you'd like to come to the microphone, please. Good evening, Katie.
Hi, my name's Katie Wilcox. Me and my husband own 2 downtown businesses, and I'd just like some clarification on some of the points that Dave brought up. As a downtown business, we have DDA fees that we as a business have to pay every year. So since it's been over a year that we've had a DDA director, I'd like to know where exactly those fees are going or being held, because the events are not being put on and we are losing business in the downtown, and yet I'm still required to pay the fee.
Event fee, I guess I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
I forget what it's called on the taxes. It's a,
Talking about the PSD?
yes.
Yeah, it's the special assessment.
Oh, the special
DDA
assessment.
downtown special assessment.
Yes. So the downtown PSD, hold on a second. I want to say the PSD is primarily the revenue source for the wages for the DDA director. So paying for the DDA director.
So there must be an excess of funds. So is that just being held?
Actually, the PSD doesn't bring in enough money to actually cover the wages. There's an appropriation that comes from the general fund to the DDA to offset some of that. This next fiscal year, I'll just pull it up really quick. Next fiscal year, I think it's about 120, where are you? It's about $140,000. So the PSD, let me just find it really quick here. PSD special assessment revenues only, the estimated revenues for the PSD special assessment requested, commission approved for next year is only $30,000. And then the projected activity for this year is $30,200. So it doesn't really raise a whole lot of funds. Like I said, it helps fund those positions, but the general fund makes up for the other side. So there is a little bit of a fund balance. Like I said, there was the part-timer that we had last year up until late in the fall-ish, beginning of the fall, that paid for her wages as well. And then, yeah, moving forward, the money's sitting there. If it's in a fund balance with DDA, then the DDA uses the fund balance.
So then do we have a backup plan moving forward for downtown events and who will be planning them and organizing them? Because right now, us business owners have formed a co-op, which I'm sure you've heard of, that they're planning all the events downtown.
Right, so the DDA board made a decision a few months ago to dial back on them because it's hard for us to hire somebody and keep them on because of the number of events. Every DDA director that we've lost in the last couple of years or so, have made comments to the board that the number of events is incredibly difficult, especially if they have a family, if they have kids, doing those events. So the DDA made the choice to focus in on a handful of events throughout the year. The group is picking up the other events that they're not doing. Right now, it's a couple of people and I doing the music in the park ones. We've had a couple of DDA board members organizing kind of going backwards. Took the lead on organizing the ball drop, took the lead on organizing the, what's the Thanksgiving one? The parade. Parade of Lights, thank you. I think the Halloween one before that too. So there are some events that the DDA board has stepped into to make sure those events happen. So moving forward, you can see in the budget too, the events that we're really kind of focused on is New Year's Eve ball drop, the I-500 pub crawl, Ladies Night Out, Music in the Park, Halloween, Spooktacular, I believe it's called, Parade of Lights, and then the movie series.
So Ladies Night Out was actually just this past weekend. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
If I said Ladies Night Out, I just read off the list, but we actually have $0 allocated for that. That was a budget that was in there from previous years that we did not put in for the years moving forward. And line items in the budget don't fall off until it's been zeroed out for a number of years.
Do we have any plans for sidewalk sales in August? Because I know that can make or break some businesses downtown. And last year it was brought away from Ashman Street and away from the actual businesses. And that hurt a lot of people.
I believe that's one event that the DDA does not participate in anymore, so there are event organizers. The person that picked that up worked with whomever to move them down there. Again, that's more of a DDA decision than anything.
I guess this kind of falls into my next comment with strategic planning. So we had mentioned that we have, $10,000 for a contract to come in for strategic planning for the city. Is that correct? I'd like to know, previously, is this new for this year or has this happened previous years?
The city has gone through some form of goal setting in the years prior. This is our first time trying to use a outside consultant or facilitator to undertake that activity.
So it's new for 2025?
Yeah.
Is that, okay.
We've used them before, but it was
Oh, excuse me.
prior to your
Yeah.
arrival here.
Okay. My next comment, I guess, is to the snow removal. And I'm not sure what line this is on the budget. And I also understand I am a lifelong, I've lived here my whole life. Snow is not something new to us. And so when you tell me, oh, we've had 133 inches over what we've had previously, we live in Sault Ste. Marie, okay? I have never shoveled so much snow in my entire life downtown. And not only that, we pay for it. We as business owners pay for the snow removal. And yet we're out there every day shoveling inches and inches. And in the contract, I understand if we get a dusting an inch or two, that's fine. We cannot control the weather. But when I'm telling you, I had to email you, Brian, because the alleyway in between our businesses we could not walk on it. It was a danger. My clientele is elderly, okay? I was mortified to have them see that and take it. They came and they attempted to fix it, but it was not done it was not done safely. So I would encourage you to look at that budget, look at who you're hiring to do this, because it was not done well. We had a crosswalk in front of our business that was blocked for a whole week. A public crosswalk. Nobody could get to our side of the road because it just wasn't done for over a week, until my husband decided, I'm gonna go shovel it. Any comments about that?
The only thing I could say is the contractor's contract is up this year, so we'll be rebidding that out. We've had challenges with them the last couple of years during this contract round. So we are rebidding it out this year. So we recognize the challenges that came with that person, and we will take that into consideration.
The current PSD assessment is up next year too, I think, is that correct?
2026 sometime? Correct.
Okay. And do most cities pay for snow separately how we do on the sidewalks, or they just loop it in with the taxes through something like the PSD?
It depends. I mean, there are some communities downstate that pay for, a variety of things with the PSDs. I was just on a meeting a couple months ago. The one mayor on there was saying that they use it for flowers and sidewalk plowing and all that stuff. So some do, some don't.
But the DDA board decides that, correct?
The DDA board acts as the PSD board, correct? And I think they are the ones that, if I remember the process correctly, they are the ones that develop the PSD, do the public hearings and notices, send them out. And I would assume that comes to the commission for approval at the end of it. But the administration, the finance and all that stuff, that's all done by the DDA board as the PSD board, correct?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say one thing.
Sure.
So with the dying of events going on, does that concern you guys that our town is slowly dying because our businesses survive off the events in this town? And as they slowly trickle away, what's gonna happen to our businesses downtown? Does that concern anybody in here?
I think that's a good reason that we had scheduled the money
Because
for
we're
some
witnessing
strategic
it
planning,
firsthand.
so,
And if we're not gonna start changing our downtown, I mean, we just finally got our garbage can this morning. We had to put flowers up on Ashman because I bet Portage is looking beautiful right now.
Okay.
There's a lack here, a serious lack.
Sure. No,
I
we
mean-
appreciate your concerns, and if you would like to speak more to the DDA stuff, we can have it at the public comment period at the end, but.
'Cause we
this is
gotta
a-
address
This is a
that.
public hearing on our budget
Yeah, so,
itself, so.
yeah, it'd be nice to have a kickback for the DDA taxes.
Sure, sure. No, we appreciate your input, thank you. Anybody else that would like to make any comments in regard to the budget? Sure, sure. Dave, come on up.
Dave Bolson again.
Thank you.
Hi again. This is under the fire department's section of the budget. I noticed that we have a big line item for fire hydrant rental, like 203,000 or something. Was completely unaware that we would have to rent our fire hydrants, so it's probably an abbreviated explanation.
So the fire hydrants are owned by the water utility. And again, it goes into, there's the general fund and there's the water utilities. Water utility owns those. They act as their own business. They're called an enterprise fund. They're established. They have their own rates. They have their own staff. They do all that thing. Because the hydrants are owned by the utilities, the general fund has to rent use of those hydrants to it.
So the city does not own its own water lines and supplies? And
They're owned by the city, but it's a different
Fund.
It's a different fund. It's called a component unit, and by state statute, component units are set up on their own. They are only dependent on the revenues in which they produce, and they can only cover the expenses that they are required to. So because the fire hydrants are part of the water distribution system, all those items are owned by the water distribution system. So so the general fund is exactly that, a general fund that funds the general government activities, fire, cops, administration, parks, all that stuff. And the use of those dollars are a little bit less restrictive in terms of where they can be allocated. When it comes to the utility accounts, the water, wastewater, and distribution and collection system, by law, those things have to be accounted for within those. So they're still owned by the city of Sault Ste. Marie, they're still staffed by the city of Sault Ste. Marie, but because it's set up by law, its own separate kind of business, everything that gets used by it, whether we own it or not, we still have to pay for it. So even with our park systems, there are, to use a good one, the campground down the way, Ani, it has a water meter on it, and all that water that's used there, the Parks Department still has to pay that business enterprise for the water department for that use. It's the same thing. It's owned by the component units, so they has to be charged out for that.
So the city owns the water utility. The water utility collects 200 and I think maybe it was 23,000 a year from the city for renting the city renting the fire hydrants from the city's water utility department.
It's the fire department's use of the water utilities fire hydrants, correct. And it's common. I'm not saying this is just something that the city of the Sault Ste. Marie does. It's a common thing across the board. Because again, utilities are set up by law to be their own business enterprise. And if there's gonna be a use for it outside of that, there's gotta be a fee or a charge to it.
What advantage is there to us of doing it that way? Is there a state grant or something that's available depending on what our consumption is, or we need a water line repair or something? Is there?
The benefit, I can say there's a benefit, but I also think there's a requirement that they kind of have to be segregated out. But really the benefit is you've got your general fund here and you got your utilities here. Your utilities typically have a lot more capital borrowing or capital projects that you have to do versus your general fund. I mean, there's a lot with the general fund, but if the two were combined to be just one, then you'd run up to a lot of debt limitations on what you could borrow and what you could accomplish. So by
Yeah.
keeping them segregated, you can do what you need to do on the utility side while not lessening your ability on the other side to be able to do what you need to do.
So, yeah, it shows your ability to pay if you have to borrow monies to upgrade.
Correct.
Or, yeah, I see. Okay, thank you.
Correct. Correct.
All right, does anybody else in the audience like to make any comments before we close the public hearing? Okay, we will now close the public hearing. Commissioner Bauer, you had some comments?
Yeah, first of all, thanks to Dave Bolson for that very meticulous analysis of the budget. Much appreciated for your questions. Also, the Wilcoxes specifically, I don't know if you could read my mind or my face, but a lot of what you were talking about was exactly what I wanted to say. So my comments are actually going to be a little bit shorter than they would have been otherwise, because you've already touched on some of those things. I do want to say a couple of things, though, just so that everybody's clear on everything. As far as the $81,000 to fund the DDA and the DDA director's position, the DDA, just so everyone is clear, the DDA director does not make anywhere near $81,000 a year. You know, that is not just for that one salary. Now, and I'm gonna try to be very brief because we're going over like a beyond 20-year history, that, yeah, the principal shopping district taxes that we pay as property owners is supposed to go to funding that DDA director's position. And over a period of time, that position has gotten into that salary has gotten higher and higher. I think we're looking for our 4th DDA director since Justin Nepper, and Justin left like right before COVID. Yeah, right before COVID. So you're talking 4 and 5 years, and the ridiculous thing about that is that, in my opinion, and I've been the liaison to the DDA, other than the years that I was not on commission, since I was elected in 2005, so you're talking about 20 years of knowledge here, that what has happened is, well, first of all, what I was gonna say about that is that it really takes a full year for a DDA director to experience that learning curve and really get their feet on the ground and know what the hell they're doing. And so if we've gone through, 4 directors in 5 years, clearly there's really been no continuity whatsoever in that position since Justin Nepper. And one of the solutions that the DDA has come up with, along with the EDC, is that, they're looking to hire a person jointly so they can pay that person more money and hopefully get a better, nothing against the DDA directors and such that we have had, but to get somebody in there and get somebody to stick, As far as the events are concerned, part of the issue, though, is that, and this was taking place during Lee Sherry, Lee Brown, Justin Nepper, as we add events, there is a lot more work, like ground level work, to be done, and that's when we started hiring the part-time people that you heard the city manager allude to. Now, if you think about it, if you could consider the DDA director as Batman and the number 2 person as Robin, well, you can't really have the Robin without the Batman, because the Batman is the person in charge of hiring Robin, because they're the sidekick and doing the things that, that they need them to do. So if you don't have a number 1, and we've been without a DDA director for a full year now, as you had pointed out, then where are we gonna get a number 2 from? And where's the number 2 gonna learn, well, these are our events and these are the things that need done? That's just not possible, So what we have here currently is a situation where they've formulated a plan that has taken an excruciatingly long amount of time to implement, to consolidate those 2 positions, and then hopefully that person who is the next DDA director will be a good one and will stay for longer than a year, And these are some of the issues that we're dealing with today. But, yeah, I mean, how much did the last DDA director make, like in the 60s?
Just below the 60.
Yeah, about 60. So when you hear $81,000 for a DDA director, I don't want anybody to think we're paying, it's like, why can't they get anybody good for $81,000? Because that's not what that person is making, That's for full staff. But as far as the events are concerned, the DDA, and this is, this is really the direction they're going. And, there's been a lot of turnover. If you go back through the minutes, or if you look at what's happening with the Downtown Development Authority, there's been a lot of turnover on that board over the last couple of years as well, just pure members. There are some members who, again, they think they want to be on, and then they're on, and then for whatever reason, they're off in less than a year. And there have been some members like Craig Cooper, for instance, who has been good and steady, and Ray Bell is another one. And these people have been on for a while, and I'm glad that we have that continuity. But the rest of these, a lot of the other supporting characters have been in and out, and by the time they learn the things that are going on and all that it takes, then they're gone again. And then you have to get somebody else in there, and volunteers for that board are not a dime a dozen. If you wanted to sit on that board, we certainly have openings, you know, for that. And I would invite you to do that, because I think you would be a good one, you know? But, yeah, I mean, those are just some of the things I wanted to cover. Oh, as far as the events, I'm sorry, is that with the lack of a DDA director and the lack of that number 2 person who was doing a lot of the boot work, you know, starting under Justin Nepper, and Justin was really the one that, you know, started having a person as the, you know, Boy Friday or whatever, to do a lot of that work, because he was just completely overwhelmed. I mean, and my apologies, because I know I have a tendency to digress, but I remember Lee Sherry, when he was the DDA director, and they were, and people would say to him, you know, why can't you get people to, why can't you get people to do these things and work on these events? He would always say, because it's just easier for me to do it than to explain it to somebody and to have to rely on other people who half the time let you down, you know? And it's been the same for the 20 years that I've been there. You know, so they have done fewer and fewer events, and decisions have been made by the DDA board. And I mean, I remember when I found out that they weren't gonna do the ball drop, I mean, I just about had a stroke. You know, because the ball drop is something that means a lot to me and my business. And it's like, well, what am I paying these for and everything if we're not even gonna do a ball drop? Are you kidding me? You know, and everybody else has their own personal events. I mean, there are some that are better, there are some events that are better for some businesses than others. There are other businesses, there are people who pay into the PSD who don't give 2 craps about any of the events, like National Office Products is a good example, or soup, you know, maybe Soup Printing does, I don't wanna put words in their mouth. But I mean, I had talk after talk with Pat Doherty over the years I mean, he would just as soon eliminate that special assessment, you know, because he doesn't care about any of that, really, you know? But I did want to clarify, though, that the $81,000 is not just to pay the DDA director, and where we're at with all that. And as someone who is sitting here on the commission, I'm with you on basically everything you were saying there about the PSD and about events, because events are important to downtown. They do help downtown thrive, and they do help the businesses. You know, even people who may not think that they help their businesses, they do, because it's all a collective, you know, Horton hears a who world, right? We all gotta scream together to be heard, I guess. So there you go, I'm done.
Thanks,
Can I
Commissioner.
make a comment?
No ending this
Sorry,
meeting in 8.5
we're in
minutes.
Commissioner now. But you can make, you're welcome to make comments at the end of the meeting, for sure. Other commissioners? Commissioner Habusta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify even further, the current DDA director salary is listed on page 33, or the budget line item is listed on page 33, which reflects the DDA director as well, the fringe benefits there. So I think that's the proper place to put it. I was critical last year about having there. I think it's the proper place to put it where it is now. So page 33 reflects that. Just wanted to add that piece of clarification since it was a point of question.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anybody else have any comments? I have a couple comments. On behalf of the commission, we are thankful that you are here and you're taking an interest. This is a process that takes a long time, and it's fully vested in every single city employee. The process actually starts now after tonight on the next round. There are 12, 15 steps that go into this process. The first completion date is in November, but they start preparing now. We have actual budget sessions that we schedule and we televise, and we ask for participation in, and to this date we've had none. So we are happy to have you here. We have a work session, We have submission of the budget to the commission at a meeting. We have introduction of the budget at a meeting, and tonight is the final step, which is the public hearing. So there are 5 different times when you can make comments and come to hear. We actually sit down with the 86-page budget and we go through line by line by line for hours, and we would love to have some company going through that process. I want to give a special shout out to Robin Troyer, Deputy City Manager, Kristen Collins, our Finance Director and Treasurer, and Callie Perrin, Accountant, Assistant Treasurer, and new mother. They put together this guide, and I would invite you to go on tonight's packet or to go on our website and look it up, and it tells you everything that you want to know about City of Sault Ste. Marie budget, about the budgeting process, about the requirements under governmental accounting, which is not an easy thing. And as you've already heard, City of Sault Ste. Marie is pretty complex. We have 33 different individual funds, 12 governmental funds, 5 enterprise funds, 3 internal service funds, 8 component unit funds, and 5 trust and fiduciary funds. We have 7 bargaining units that we deal with every 3 years, hopefully, for contracts. And there is a diversity of different financial information. And this year, as in every year, we're getting the process done on time, unlike our federal partners. Sounds like this year the state budget might not have a resolution by the date that they're required to either, but City of Sault Ste. Marie has never missed this deadline, and we operate going forward with a balanced budget. This year's budget, the general fund, we have a self-imposed general fund ratio that we follow. Next year it's gonna be little bit lower, and it's because we had to take some money out of your general fund so that we could finish a couple of projects. Meridian Street ran over, we had to take money out of that to finish that project. Carbide Dock project, we had to take $2.5 million or somewhere in that range out to finish that, and some of our other road projects. These are all projects for you, they're all projects for the city, and that's why our general fund is a little bit lower. Even given that, we're still going forward with capital purchases and capital projects that will make this city look better and operate better. And we all know that our roads are in tough shape. We all know that local roads are underfunded. We've had the revenues from the state of Michigan have not kept pace with inflation, so we've had difficulty there. But even there, as Brian mentioned, general operations millage, it's slightly down this year. We're decreasing it slightly. The solid waste millage is the same. It's not going up at all. And the police and fire pension fund millage also is the same. So you will get an increase, but it's just because the value of your property is increasing by 3.49%, which is a number that is given to us from the state of Michigan. So we appreciate all the work that all of our department heads, all the staff members have done on this budget. Year after year, we have had a clean audit from our independent external auditors, and it's a unmodified, I think they call it now, opinion. And they had absolutely no issues with any of our policies, any of our compliance. We also underwent a single audit, which is required if you receive more than $750,000 in federal funds. So we undergo that, and it's a lot of additional steps to make sure that we are in compliance 100% with all of the reporting requirements that go along with grants. So grants aren't always fun and easy and free. You do have to comply. So everything has been good, and I don't know when our next S&P rating is, but our last one was double A, I think it was. I'm not gonna misquote it, but we've always had good bond rating as well, and I think we're going through a bond rating probably for this next round of funding. So I appreciate everybody internally and all the work you've done, and like I said, Robin, Kristen, and Callie, thank you very much for this guidance. And the budget is online. We have many, many years of our past audits online and budgets online, and we would love to have more participation, and we welcome any feedback anytime. All of our commissioners were on the webpage. Call us anytime, email us anytime, and come to a meeting. So we appreciate the participation. With that, any other questions or comments? I skipped around here, but I'm looking for who would like to make the motion to accept the final resolution of general appropriations. Commissioner Bosphus Rath.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to adopt the included final resolution of general appropriations for the 2025-2026 fiscal year with details by fund as provided in the resolution.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments before we have a vote? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Move into item 3, which is a public hearing on the final resolution of water and sewer rates for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. City Manager, I think we already went through all of those. Do you want me to go right to the public hearing?
Yeah, we're at the public hearing.
All right, so we'll open a public hearing on the final resolution of water and sewer rates for 2025-2026 fiscal year. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments? Again, it's a public hearing on our 2025-2026 fiscal year's water and sewer rates. Sure, like to come up and, yep. Just because we're on cable TV, so,
Greetings
Thank
to
you.
the listening public. Dave Bolson again.
our 3 listeners.
Are they going up?
Viewership?
No.
Oh, rates?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, combined the average user, let me just pull the number really quick. Combined the average user for about 5,000 gallons is going up about 3.2%.
And I suppose the explanation is that wages have gone up, fringe benefits have gone up, insurance has gone up.
Nothing's gone down, but a lot of it too is the, as I mentioned earlier, we took out 2 large loans to do some projects that are kind of required at this point. So one of them is for the wastewater treatment plant, which hasn't seen a major upgrade since the 80s. A lot of the things are outside of its useful life. We've got a loan in order to improve a lot of the processes of the wastewater treatment plant. We've also got a loan to close out the open combined sewer overflow over by Peck and Meridian area or Peck and Eureka area. That project replaces the road, the sewer, water lining, which is a separate fund or a separate borrowing there, but that one should reduce any kind of backflow into basements from the sanitary sewer by removing the stormwater from there. We've also got a couple of projects for lining some sewer mains and sewer pipes along the power canal and some different things like that.
Those are 2 loans.
In the water intake over by the water treatment plant. I'm sorry, what was that?
You said there were 2 loans. Could you tell me how much those are?
I can.
Is there some place I could look it up myself and not use everybody's time?
So those items would have been, it's actually in your budget book. Hold on, let me find the page for you. Commodities, revenue, capital charges. I can't find it in the budget book real quick, but they are on the city's agenda system. Those were loans that were approved by the city commission over the last couple of years. Gosh darn it, where is it? Hold on.
Mr. Chapman,
Yes, sir.
if they're not readily available, I can have that conversation with you or the treasurer or somebody without using everybody's time. It won't impact on what I wanted to accomplish tonight. So thank you for looking at for those. I will say this is before your time, but I remember when we used to pay like $12 a month for water and sewer, and I don't know if anybody here was here then. That was in the 80s. But we were promised when we took out this huge sum of money alone and to upgrade our water and sewer system, oh, don't worry, this will all be paid off in 20 years, and then the rates will go back to the way they were. Here we are. So when somebody says borrow, I know it's a reality, but it concerns me when we borrow money. I prefer paying cash if we can. Thanks, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Dave. Is there anybody else that'd like to make any comments on the water and sewer rates? Seeing none, we'll close the public comments and move to City Commission. Commissioners, any questions, comments on the water and sewer rates? Who would like to make a motion?
I'll make that, Your Honor. Motion to adopt the resolution for water and sewer rates for the 25-26 fiscal year with detail rates as provided in the resolution.
Support.
We have motion and support. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. And finally, we have a public hearing on the final resolution for purposes of establishing the 2025 tax levy for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. We will open the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments at this time? And again, this is a public hearing on the resolution for purposes of establishing 2025 tax levy with the millage for charter operations of 16.5358 mils. Millage for solid waste collection of 0.6520 mils, and the millage for the police and fire pension fund at 6.2481 mils. Seeing no comments, we'll close the public hearing and move to City Commission. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Busta.
I just have a comment. Currently, the state appropriations is about $8.2 billion behind on their state revenue sharing to local municipalities like Sault Ste. Marie. That's billion with a B that the state has not paid forward to local communities from their budget like they're supposed to. When we are talking about things like budgeting and tax rates, I know that you, Mr. Mayor, and others along this commission have been active in advocating to our local legislative leaders in Lansing for the state to pony up and to begin to pay the money to local communities that is due to them. I think it's important we get our entire community behind this effort. This will allow us to continue not raise tax rates if we continue to if we get money from the state that is owed to local communities. So I just want to highlight that. I think sometimes we forget about that issue when we're doing things like budgeting and looking at our tax levy. But I think it's an important issue to highlight, especially today. Thank you.
It's a great point, Commissioner, and our legislature, it's kind of sad when we have to advocate to establish a trust fund so that they don't have the ability to take that money away from communities before it's given out. So it's an obligation from the state, and the state has not held up their end of the obligations. State of Michigan, unfortunately, is ranked near the bottom in the way that they fund local communities. And as you can see, I know that you're watching very closely, and you look at our millage rate. Everything else is out of our control. We can't establish taxes for raising funds. We really are pretty much hamstrung, and certainly we don't want to, but not having that percentage of the 6% sales tax coming in that is supposed to be coming in really does hurt all of us. And then we've been doubly blessed in Michigan by having these tax tribunal cases that the city manager was talking about with the big box stores. And we have lost millions of dollars in Sault Ste. Marie. We had to spend over $1 million to try to defend our local taxing jurisdiction. Over $1 million in legal fees to try to defend that, and appraisal fees and everything else. So they are shifting the burden to all of us, to our local small business owners and homeowners. So the system's broken. We're doing what we can to push our legislators to do the right thing and to make the changes. And that's why we're active in Michigan Municipal League and trying to help them lobby for changes that are positive, because it all starts at local community level. Sorry, thanks for that though. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Do we have a motion, Commissioner Wooster, would you like to make that motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I motion to adopt the included final resolution for the purposes of establishing a 2025 tax levy with the millage for charter operations at 16.5358 mils, the millage for solid waste collection at 0.6520 mils, and the millage for police and fire pension fund at 6.2481 mils.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate the input. We're going to move on into item G in our agenda, business items. Number 1, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a draft purchase agreement with My Michigan Hospital for the acquisition of the parking deck in the downtown area. Included in your agenda item is the purchase agreement for review. Kind of the high points for it, the sale price is $2 million less principal payments after July 1, 2024. So in total, looking at about $1.8 million. The parking garage will remain open to the public to ensure day parking for visitors to the city in the downtown area. The hospital will provide permits for parking as we do now. The hospital will continue the existing fee structure with a 15% maximum increase each year over the next 3 years, and then the hospital will be responsible for all maintenance and capital expenditures moving forward. So kind of on the note with maintenance and capital expenditures, we did do a parking asset management study for the parking garage a number of years ago. Over the next few years, we're looking at about $1 million, $800,000 to $1 million in improvements. That doesn't necessarily include a lot of the smaller items that were kind of noted during one of the couple commission meetings ago when a resident came in to talk about it. The hospital has made concessions or promises within the purchase agreement to keep the parking garage operating the way it is for the most part. The amount that we would receive will pay off the rest of the debt that is owed, with a few $100,000 kind of left on the side. There isn't a major plan for that at this time. I would say it would go into the fund balance to help with our corrective action plan. But if that's something the commission wants to discuss at a future meeting, we can put that as an item and have that discussion there. This is coming kind of at the tail end of an existing agreement we have with the hospital. With the refinancing that was done a few years ago, the hospital committed to paying 25% of the debt moving forward. There was language within the contract that said that the hospital would have kind of first dibs on purchasing the contract near the end of the term of that or near the term of that contract. So I'd look for a motion to authorize city manager to finalize and execute the purchase agreement.
Thank you, City Manager. We'll go to City Commission for questions or comments on this item. I want to thank Kevin Kelchek, who is president of My Michigan, is the president, correct? Of My Michigan, Sault Ste. Marie, for being here, and certainly for being a part of a long negotiation process, and in your interest in enhancing the city of Sault Ste. Marie. And I don't know if any of the commission has any questions for him or for Commissioner Booston.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple of comments. I think the local hospital has been a longtime partner with us in general on this project. I think the hospital contributed about $2.1 million to connect to the parking garage via the overhead skywalk. I would also indicate that I think that this provides an opportunity. When we think about parking downtown, I know that there have been homes that have been bulldozed in order to expand the parking lot at My Michigan. This provides an opportunity for them to no longer do that and to keep those houses remaining as part of our taxable base. And so I think that's a win for our community as well, that is not measured in this agreement anywhere, but I think it's something we definitely need to consider as well. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Rubenstein.
This for City Manager Chapman. I'm assuming legal's had the chance to review this agreement as well.
Correct.
Thank you. And then I guess what's the expectation from you and Kevin Kalchik from you? When do you both expect this to be finalized, or is there any type of deadline that it has to be finalized by?
Probably get done by the end of July, right?
I would say June.
Or excuse me, end of June. Yeah, I went too far out. I'm sorry.
And then who, I guess, do you have someone identified at the hospital right now who's gonna oversee the permitting system? Like, I know right now as users, we just call City Hall, get the proxy card, it's easy if you lose one. How will that process look once it? Yeah,
Sure, Kevin,
please.
thank you. And the mic should have a green light on it there, so this is Kevin
All right.
Kalchek, president of My Michigan.
All right,
Suit.
thanks. So our intention is to continue to use it for public purposes. We've actually worked with Community Action that they're going to actually turn over a portion of their parcel that is underneath the parking structure. So we'll be able to solidify all of that property. Definitely have agreements and promises to Community Action and local landowners down there that need that for parking. For rentals and those types of things. And we will definitely continue day parking. We don't want to be we want to continue to be a good partner with the city. I do not intend to have public parking permits from a standpoint of open to the entire public, only for those that are definitely need those uses, the property owners downtown that need that for their tenants and those type of things.
Thank
Did
you.
that answer your question?
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
I'll just
Any
stay here.
Other questions for Kevin? Certainly, I don't remember what year it was built, but it was built by it was a referendum from the city of Sault Ste. Marie, and it was approved on a slim margin. And I don't want to scare you away, Kevin, but it's been ever since a drain on our TIF. On tax increment financing plan, and that has affected our DDA funding as well. The plan was based on a feasibility study that was, as Dave said, done by somebody out of town. I think it was a Florida firm, actually, and none of the incomes were realistic, or none of them came to fruition, and it really has been, it's a great facility, but it's been difficult. The hospital's been a very good partner. You've partnered, as Brian said, with 25% of all the maintenance through the years. You've been patient as we went through many different iterations of the doggone gate thing that has never worked right. And certainly maintenance on a garage of that magnitude is a lot. And I think we had a lady come to us a couple of meetings ago and talked about the need for the caulking between the cement units and everything else. So there's a lot of deferred maintenance that really needs to be handled, and I know that the hospital will do that well. And I know that administration has negotiated to make sure that it was built with public funds, and it will remain available for public use along with hospital use. So we appreciate that. And I think we feel that the agreement will, keep with the original intent of the public in wanting to have that garage downtown. And we also thank very much Community Action Agency for all of their help, their assistance. And as you said, the site plan wasn't easy because, as a lot of things around town, like the hospital originally was, you had a piece of the hospital that was owned by somebody else in the very middle of it, and here we have a parking garage that was owned partially on community action land. So, but everybody are good partners, and they realize the importance of having a good healthcare system and employer in our downtown. You're an economic engine, and not to mention, everything you do for saving lives and creating lives with childbirth, and so we want to see you grow and prosper here in Sault Ste. Marie, and we appreciate your commitment to downtown. So.
Thank you. If I can mention
sure,
Community
Kevin.
Action, Joe Nolan, and the Community Action Board, I'd like to thank them, and Commissioner Hubusta, I'd like to recognize your comments about the tax dollars for homes and so forth, so I appreciate those comments as well, so thank you.
Anybody else? We have a commissioner that would like to make this motion. Commissioner Boswell-Rath.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to authorize the city manager to finalize and execute the purchase agreement.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments before we have a vote? All in favor of this important vote, signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on, G, business items number 2, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is the second reading and consideration for the city's zoning ordinance that creates the use of planned unit development overlays. So we brought this item to the commission during the last commission meeting. This is a zoning tool that we feel will give us some flexibility to assist development throughout the city. Typically, you have your standard zoning overlays, which dictate the different type of uses or mixes that can be permitted within an area. The planned unit development is an overlay that essentially allows the community to work with the developer to essentially set up their own zoning district. So it can be used on smaller properties, or it can be used on bigger projects. It's a tool that we identified that would be beneficial to us through our housing readiness grant and the consultants with CIB Planning out of Fenton, Michigan. The ordinance has been included in here for your review, and there's no need for a public hearing, so we would just look for recommendation to approve the motion to approve the included ordinance as presented.
Thank you, City Manager, and as you said, we had a public hearing at the last meeting, so anybody have any questions or comments on this proposed ordinance? Commissioner Bauer.
Question, is the phrase planned unit development overlaid, is that something that is standard in the, okay.
Yeah, and
Who came up with that? Because that's gotta be, I mean,
a zoning
that's
person.
a horrible, that is a horrible name.
I think it's actually, it's enabled by the Michigan Planning and Zoning Enabling Act, right? So it's somebody much higher than our pay grade came up with that, but it's referenced in the state statute, which enables us to put it on the books and utilize it.
All right,
I hate it too.
thank you.
And if there are any other questions for Kelly Freeman, our Planning Director, he's besides the title. Any other questions, comments? Who would like to make this motion this evening? Commissioner Marble.
Motion to approve the included ordinance as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on to G, business items number 3, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is ratification of the newest CBA with the local firefighters group. That group originally belonged to United Steelworkers. There was 2 separate units. There was the captain and the firefighters. Sometime last year, they decided to merge units and switch from Steelworkers to IAFF. The process started end of the summer last year in terms of negotiations with the firefighters group. We met for a number of times over the several months. This one ended up going into mediation over a couple of points. We're happy that the fire unit did ratify this a week or so, 2 ago, so we are looking for the next step. For the most part, we merged the 2 contracts between the captains and the firefighters. There were some nuances that we had to work out with that merger, but both sides of the table kind of got to that point. So it does provide for retro pay, as is typically negotiated. It would go back starting July 1, 2024. The term of the contract ends June 30th, 2023, so it's 3 fiscal years worth of a contract. There are wage increases that are based upon what we have going across for other internals. You have 4%, 3%. There were some changes to some differentials and some other benefits. Yeah, so we would look for a motion to ratify the collective bargaining agreement with the IAFF Local 821 as presented.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions or comments before we get a motion? Commissioner Bauer.
So moved, we authorize the city manager to execute the collective bargaining agreement between the city of Sault Ste. Marie and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 821.
Support.
Move and support. Any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Under G, business items, number 4, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to award a bid to Merlot Construction for the West 25th Avenue Sewer Force Main Lining Project. This item was bid out. We received 2 bids back. We're recommending going with Merlot Construction as they are just slightly less than the other one. We do have a second motion within here to increase the project budget by $50,000, the funding to come out of the sewer capital reserves. So we look for 2 motions on this one, motion to award the force main lining bid to Merlot Construction, and a motion to increase the budget by $50,000 coming from the sewer capital reserves.
Thank you, City Manager. Does anybody have any questions for City Manager or City Engineer or Commissioner Habusta?
Yeah, my only question is, looking at, we already have 500,000 budgeted for this project, but we're looking to take out another 50,000, which would more than cover the bid. Is there a reason why, we're looking at $70,000 more being transferred out?
So the extra $50,000 is to assist in covering some of the extra costs that may come with this one. So for example, given the nature of that location, there's a chance that we'll have to rent a special type of truck, fracking truck, in order to kind of divert the flow from the sewer main. So it's just some of the other costs that are included in the project that's gonna be able to make that happen. Like I said, given the location, you can't just kind of run the sewage anywhere else. You still gotta make sure that it's being moved. So the truck will collect it, move it to the nearest manhole. I think the problem is that it's too far away from any kind of close manhole. And essentially, if we were to do it just with a pump and a hose, we'd be running a pump and a hose across I-75. So it's just to cover some of the extra costs that we have to do to make this project happen.
And did you say, City Engineer, is this the first time we have used this type of technology for, or did we already do one?
First time.
Okay, and at 500 and some thousand, what would it cost if we had to remove and weren't able to reline?
Probably about 3 times that,
Okay,
easy.
so at least $1.5 million to $2 million, so, okay. So new technology that helps us extend the life of sewer, and I know they're doing it all over the UP, and we're not the first there, but, and didn't they say Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario had some that they have done successfully?
Yep.
I think when we talked about this prior, so, yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Busta, would you like to make the motion?
I can do that.
2 motions?
Absolutely. A motion to award sewer main lining bid to Merlot Construction in the amount of $532,747.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments on that one? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Commissioner Habusta.
Motion to increase the West 25th Avenue Sewer Force Main Lining Project by $50,000 with funding to come from the sewer capital reserves.
Support.
Motion and support. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. G, business items, number 5, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to accept an MDOT Aero grant, a request to waive the competitive bid process, and a request to purchase some equipment. So this is a 100% grant fund through MDOT, through their Aero grant program. The EDC and the FBO and the airport manager applied for the grant funds. This particular item is accepting that grant. There's some equipment that they're looking to purchase. It is used equipment, so it's not anything we can necessarily bid out. The equipment's been reviewed, and the staff feel that it would be, it'll work in our favor for our operations. It includes a tow tractor for $15,000, a ground power unit for $35,000. So we had 3 motions of this one: motion to accept the grant, motion to waive the competitive bid process, as well as motion to amend the budget to recognize the $50,000 in capital equipment.
Thank you very much, City Manager, and I think Nikki from the EDC is in the back, so couldn't see you, sorry. So any questions for the City Manager, for Nikki on this, on these items? Seeing none, Commissioner Rubenstein, would you like to make the three separate motions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to accept the MDOT Aero Grant from state funds in the amount of $50,000.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Commissioner Rubenstein.
Motion to waive a competitive bid for the purchase of used equipment from Legacy GSE LLC from Leland, North Carolina.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Number 3, Commissioner Rubenstein. Sorry, did you have a question, or you were?
I just wanted to clarify, does a waive for competitive bid have to be a roll call vote?
No, it has to be unanimous.
Okay.
Good.
Yep, Commissioner Rubenstein.
Motion for a budget amendment for $50,000 to Capital Equipment Airport, fully offset by a grant revenue of the same amount.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. No, does that have to be unanimous? Did I misspeak?
No, it has to be.
Waiver,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
right.
That was
Yes,
correct. Thank you.
Yes, you're correct.
All right. Okay, so moving on into item H, which is city manager announcements and updates. City Manager Chapman.
All right, I should put these in a different order. So up first, the compost pile is open behind DPW. The schedule is on our Facebook page as well as our city website. So that's ready to go. Spring leaf pickup is happening right now. The crews started going out today. If there's anybody that has leaves that need to be picked up, we ask that they call customer service in. They'll put the address on our ongoing list. This will probably be the only week we're really out and about in doing that before we switch to some other tasks. So if there's somebody that needs some leaves picked up, make sure to call it in as soon as possible. There's been some questions and concerns about some of the restoration activities around the Safe Routes to School projects. I just talked to Engineer Boyle about that last week. We are still working with the contractor on some restoration activities. I know there's some chunks of concrete and asphalt, some seed that didn't take, maybe some areas that need a little bit more fill placed in there too. So Dave's still working with the contractor on those punch list items. Hopefully get that stuff straightened out here shortly. Just as a reminder, June 16th, we'll have a joint city commission meeting with Sioux Ontario City Commission. We look for that one to start. We'll have a regular meeting first at, what did I say, 4 o'clock or 4:30? What did I say, 4 o'clock? We'll have a regular city commission meeting at 4 o'clock here. And then we'll have the joint meeting start with the Sioux Ontario City Commission at 5:30 here as well. So this year is in our neighborhood. Next year will be in their neighborhood. We've set up the third Monday of each June to be kind of that standing meeting with Sioux Ontario, just to make it a little bit easier for planning purposes. So kind of going back up to the top of my list. So there are some signal changes. They're going to happen in the downtown area. These are being driven by MDOT, as Ashman and some of those the traffic lights in that area are under the jurisdiction of MDOT. So Dave, why don't you start hopping up here? Included in the agenda item is the memo to Dave from the Department of Transportation. Starting here shortly, the street lights at Maple and Ridge in the downtown area will be changed from a four-way stop to a flashing stop. There'll be a road study that'll kind of happen shortly that'll end up wrapping up about end of September, beginning of September.
Yeah, it's
somewhere
gonna
in there.
be June, July, and August.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I will hand it over to Dave to kind of give a little bit more information on this update and change and what they're doing and everything else.
Okay, so what MDOT's doing, this is all part of the national thing, 0 fatalities in urban areas, so MDOT's adopted this, so they looked at our downtown area, their roadway, right? So they did a study for a whole year, taking a look at it, and actually, the study was done a lot during the high traffic demands that we have, so. They looked at not only traffic, but pedestrian crossings and a number of other things too, the signage and a few other things. So there's a lot that goes into it. The stuff that they're looking at right now is just the signalization. After they did the traffic study, all the signals that we have along this route, actually on business route, none of them meet the warrants to be there. So, but they're just picking these two intersections because they have a unique situation where they can take the signals out and then just put in regular signage and keep the regular pedestrian crossings and stuff. So we did, just in context too, the city worked with MDOT a year or so ago too, and we looked at our internal signals that we have, and none of our internal signals meet warrants that we have in town. And a lot of that's got to do with traffic and fatalities and other things. Actually, when you start looking at it, we have 0 fatalities at any of our intersections. So a lot of that throws out a lot of these type of signals or other things that go on with traffic. So so we have a safe town. People might not think that, but as far as fatalities go, we have a pretty safe town. So when they put this stuff out there, they're gonna be, the lights will go flashing. They're gonna put new stop signs. The one, I forgot what intersection, I think it's Maple, they're gonna do a little bump out. So what they're doing is, they're testing how these intersections are gonna work with the signage and with the bump outs and with maybe remarking the laneage. So, and then from that, they'll develop the project later on. So when the project does come out, we'll get new signal, the signals that are there that aren't coming out, there'll be new high-level signals with the LEDs, and then the pavement markings will all be upgraded, signage will all be upgraded, and there might even be some of the pedestrian crossings that'll get upgraded too with some kind of a bump out or no bump outs. If Tyler has his way, we won't have any bump outs, but that's a way we control the speed of traffic, so.
Is there any questions from the commission?
When will they start?
June 3rd,
You say 3rd or 30th?
the first Monday in June.
Yeah.
So I think that's the 3rd, yeah.
3rd, yeah.
And so it's 2 intersections, you said one was, Yeah, Johnson.
Johnson and Maple, yep,
and then Ridge and,
Ridge and,
Yeah.
Yep.
Ridge and Portage is, yeah,
Ridge and Maple.
Ridge and Maple.
yep,
Yeah.
Maple and Ridge and Johnston Street.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they put out some kind of signage to warn people that these changes are there?
Yep, so MDOT's in the process right now of hiring a contractor to do all that stuff. So they'll come in and just before this happens, I'll re-sign it, put up all the delineators, whatever they're gonna put out there, so.
So the plastic pylons, is that summer only, and then we'll
Maybe I'll-
remove them for the winter?
Yeah, it'll come out.
Yeah, it's just a 90-day
Okay, trial.
trial, yeah. If they see that it's fit, then they won't do the ballers moving forward, they'll put in some kind of actual physical
Yep.
cemented infrastructure.
It's gonna be a 2029 project when it does go, so. It's a few years out, but I always say it takes 3-4 years to make a project happen, so.
Any questions for Dave on this one? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Done with your report?
Dave. Yes.
Any questions for the city manager on any of his reported items? Seeing none, we'll move forward then into I, matters presented by the public. So is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments? Katie? Yeah, this is it. Thank you.
So my public comment was only going to be a short one, but now after listening to this, we've kind of opened up a couple cans of worms.
Sure,
So
good. Okay.
my first comment was back to the DDA. As we all know, Batman came before Robin. If we can't give one person the tools that they need to do a successful job, I don't think we should be trying to give two people that. The DDA, Justin did an amazing job, but our last DDA director was amazing too. Stephanie went to work for downtown. I saw her in our businesses at least once a week, and I'm sorry, I haven't seen any of you. And that's not a bash, but I'm just like, if you want to know what the downtown people need, it'd be nice to have a conversation. And I would love to be on the DDA board. I run 3 businesses. I'm rehabilitating a historical building in Pickford because now I'm at the point where we're moving our business out of the city. I've put in $500,000 into a building downtown to make updates, to beautify it. We did get the Match on Main Street grant for the side lot, which we are now dumping $30K of our own money into that. So we're putting money into this city. And I feel like we just keep getting roadblocks and roadblocks and roadblocks at every turn. And we don't feel supported. We just don't feel supported by the city. And I think that's why it's so frustrating. And like, oh yeah, snow removal is not that big of a deal. But it is when you're dealing with 10 other things that aren't being done. And as far as downtown events go and what the DDA is managing, it's great that they're doing the ball drop and the parade of lights. Those are past 8 p.m. That does nothing for the stores and the shopping. That's where we make our money. It's great for all the bars, but that's not for the people who are only open till 6 p.m. We're not moving our clothing racks down Portage so that we can sell our product. So that doesn't really make sense for majority of your business owners. The gift shops, those are the people that are here. Those are the people that need help. I want to make another comment about the parking garage being sold. And as I understood, the DDA was paying off that debt with TIF funding. Is that correct? So is that money going to be returned for the past 20 years that's been paying on that parking garage to the fund, to the DDA fund, to help fund the events for downtown and maybe do some updates on 20 years that nothing has been touched?
The conversation we have in a future meeting. I mean, it's been a combination of utility debt. What? Oh, sorry. I know, sorry. The parking garage has been funded by DDA TIF capture, the general fund, parking utility fees. There was some general utility debt in there too. So there's a lot of different funding sources that went to that parking garage. So we'll have to take a look at that stuff. We didn't have a plan for that going out of the gate, but it will be discussed.
And when? Is it safe to say within the next year before?
Probably within a meeting or two.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's just really frustrating. And I would really hope that you guys can listen to some of the downtown business owners. This lamp fell in front of our business over 2 weeks ago. Luckily, it didn't kill anybody. And when we called about it over 2 weeks ago, I'm like, well, I might as well bring it here. You guys can do something with it because nobody came to get it. Nobody said anything about it. These lights have been strung up in the alleyway. They shatter every year. There's glass. Nobody cleans up the alleyway, by the way. We do. So it's just really frustrating. And like I said, we pour money into this city. I've lived here my entire life. I'm an alumni of LSSU. I'm an RN. I was an OB nurse for 6+ years. I know how to multitask. We have 5 young children in elementary, so you can't tell me you can't find one person to run the DDA. And do I think they need to make more than $45,000 to $50,000, which is what the job is posted for right now? Absolutely. Why can't we pay them the $81,000, get somebody who's qualified and can make a living wage for all the work and time that they have to put in, and not have to scrounge for pennies to host all these events? Replenish the parking garage debt that the DDA has been paying off for how many years, so that we can actually put the money into downtown. That's my comment.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Anybody else in the audience that has any comments at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move into item J, which is matters presented by the City Commission. Commissioners, any comments this evening? Commissioner Bosphus-Rath.
Thank you, Mayor. I do hear you. I did go to Ladies' Night last Friday, and it was so much fun. I went with my mom, my mother-in-law, my sister, my 3-year-old. We visited lots of shops. It was busy. Everybody was having a great time. Did a little money shopping. So it was a great event, and I was glad to see it put on. Another thing is we are wrapping up this school year, and I just wanted to say congratulations to the class of 2025. Hope everybody has a safe graduation party, celebration, and Memorial Day.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anybody else? Commissioner Rubenstein.
2 things. One, I want to thank everyone for their comments tonight and everyone else who just came out. I think the most important thing, it means that you all care, just like all of us. And, you know, I forget, Phil, I think you made the comment of, you know, we don't want to see things dying. And the first step in that is people actually caring and taking ownership in it. So thank you all for coming out and speaking tonight. It's super, super important to have that participation. And then lastly, with My Michigan and the parking garage, I just want to tell a quick story. My parents were up here last weekend. My dad started saying his stomach hurt. Ended up coming in, they are down in the Detroit area. He ended up getting his appendix out up here, and I think we were in and out of the ER, and his appendix was out, and he was back home the next morning, but the whole procedure and everything took about 4 hours. So they were super impressed. We were really happy. And between myself, my kids, and my parents, I think we've had 4 or 5 ER trips, and they've all been pretty flawless, thankfully. So we're lucky to have My Michigan here and all the great work that they do.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anybody else? Commissioner Bauer.
Your Honor, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Support.
Moved and supported, we adjourn.